Let's tidy up this tangle of film by putting it on a reel. Here is a motion picture film, 1,000 feet, 16,000 separate photographs.
Welcome, everyone, to the official space section of the chart.
What's the truth? You can't handle the truth. Sir, you're out of order. Out of order. I show you out of order.
Teya, thank you for coming on the show. This is, we've been emailing back and forth about how we could maybe potentially do something this year with Gimli Film Fest and us nerds, and it has turned out that we now get to just sit down and have a lovely conversation with each other instead of peruse around in the heat and trying to find each other in schedules and films and all that craziness. It's just a lovely Wednesday evenings.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here and to chat with you today.
So let's start with how the hell did you? When I interview people in the film industry, I'm always like, "How did you find film? How did you find the Gimli Film Fest? How did this end up on your radar?"
Well, it's interesting because I'm from Toronto. So I'm from Toronto, and I studied film at university, and I've always had a love for film. And through my career, I've been working in different arts and culture organizations. And I think I always wanted to get back into working in film. A lot of my work has been in events. So when I saw that this job was posted as executive director, I jumped at the chance.
Sure.
And I think for me, it was a natural blending of all my skills that I've accumulated since I started my career, as well as being able to passionately talk about film. It just made sense. And, I was blessed through a very rigorous interview process to be the, likely candidate. And I'm just so thrilled to be here because it's not like I didn't hear about the film festival when I was back home. People know about this festival, and it was just exciting to see this opportunity come up.
It is this lovely little part of Manitoba that has, how old is the Gimli Film Fest now?
This is our 24th year. We started in 2000.
Wow. So if you don't know about it and you're from Manitoba, get out from under the rock, come home from the cabin and go to Gimli. And then you'll be at the cabin again. But go to Gimli, and there is this amazing festival. And I think, what is it, the biggest rural festival in North America?
Biggest rural film festival in Canada.
Canada, okay.
Which is really impressive considering all the different film festivals that happen across this country. The biggest one happens here. We get more than 15,000 people coming to the shores of Lake Winnipeg to witness this event.
That makes perfect sense. Don't they say if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life?
They do say that. Some days are harder than others. That's for sure. But I've always loved a little bit more of a DIY event, community development, art space. That's always been kind of my jam and what I've been so privileged in my career to be involved with. So this is just the natural progression and really truly my dream job. So some days I have to pinch myself and realize that I I'm here.
I can't imagine. We do what we do here at the show, and it's all grassroots, ground up stuff. I taught myself how to do all this, but after, I don't have any training. I don't have. I'm someone who learns as they do. But I imagine going to university and then doing all the work that you've done, and then finally finding something that, like you said, complements both your skill set in events and your skill set in film. That's a marriage. That's a marriage made on the beach in Gimli, Manitoba, listener. And again, if you don't know about it, it takes place in this sleepy cabin town of Gimli, Manitoba, which is essentially Little Iceland. And you walk around these beautiful streets. There's the Gimli Theater. There's churches. How many different venues do you guys have?
We have 6 different venues, including Gimli Beach, and 3 of them, also including Gimli Beach, are built from the ground up in the space, which is really insane to think about, and it also makes it pretty cool and something to see.
No, definitely.
So we do use church spaces. We do use the Gimli Theater, like you mentioned, Gimli Beach.
It's a different kind of film festival. I would say that the town of Gimli is incredibly welcoming of everybody that comes. I mean, aside from the tourism factor, they get involved, they volunteer. I mean, I would imagine most of your volunteer base is from the Interlake. Am I wrong on that?
Well, yes and no. So we do get a lot of repeat volunteers that come from the Interlake region, but we also have a lot of volunteers that come up from Winnipeg. So as part of our mandate for accessibility, we have a free shuttle for pass holders that leaves from 2 locations in Winnipeg, and our volunteers can get on that bus for free. So we do get a lot of volunteers that come up with the shuttle bus each day. So it actually expands the volunteers that we get.
That's very Folkfest of you. Folkfest does the exact same thing. I just came off of that last weekend, and that shuttle bus.
Cool.
I tell you, if you ever want to volunteer for something and there's a shuttle bus, oh my God, get on that volunteer shift, kids. I tell you.
Yeah.
That said, what are some of the standout films that you guys brought in? What can a festival goer expect? Something that might shock them, something that might move them. What did you guys pick? Give the listeners something.
Oh my gosh, that's always a really tough one to answer because
you don't want to offend anybody.
So subjective. No, but I will say our programming team is awesome, and they've brought in a lot of really great films this year. I think for me, I will speak for myself. Some standouts are. So we have a retrospective of a film called Wilderness Trails that we're showing Thursday evening.
Okay.
And this film is from the 70s and is shot on film camera, and essentially is this man who lives in a cabin in Manitoba and just films animals. And it's very David Attenborough, and it's really sweet. And we are... we've invested in refurbishing it and taking it out of the archives in Ottawa. And we'll be showing that with a special sound performance beforehand to get everybody in the mood for the wilderness. So I'm kind of jazzed about that.
Kind of like fully inspired for all these sounds going into this animal movie.
Yeah, like I just thought it would be a cool thing to have some sort of activation beforehand, just to get people feeling like they're in nature. I'm very big on immersive experiences. So I thought it would be a cool little thing to have. What else?
So hang on, before we can't move on from this dude. So did he just one day pick up a camera and, just start filming the gophers and the squirrels and the moose, or is it meese? I don't know what moose are plural.
I think it is meese, but
okay.
Yeah, he just has a love for the outdoors, and he speaks to the fact that he's what's the word that I'm looking for? No, he just speaks to the fact that he's seen the wilderness change over the years, and he wanted to capture some things that he thinks are really beautiful within the Manitoba landscape. So we do have, moose, gophers, swans, pelicans, and yeah, he just talks about how nature has changed. And I think what's the most important part about it is it makes you reflect on where the environment is today, right?
Yeah.
If he's talking about in the 70s how much has changed since he was a kid, it's only poignant to think about how much has changed here in 2024.
And that's the definition of a retrospective, kids.
Yeah.
Is what was made then looked through today's eyes. That's crazy. Yes. And how, like you say, how the landscape of Manitoba has changed. Are some of these animals endangered? Are some of these animals protected? Like, how has the story of the animals in the film changed over the years with a 2024 lens? I dig that. I really dig that. Yeah. That's Thursday night?
Thursday night at 5 at Johnson Hall, which is in the Waterfront Center in Gimli.
Like, I want you to plan a film festival for my birthday, if you wouldn't mind, and make it as immersive. Like, when you're done, I'll pay you. We'll talk about your fee. But that would be like, I want you to do that for all the movies I watch.
Well, I think, and I have to give kudos to, former executive directors of this film festival that have brought innovative media arts into some of the programming. And I think I really want to get back into that and amplify all the cool things that are happening within the media arts within Manitoba. So having retrospectives and giving people new perspectives with those retrospectives, a little bit of a tongue twister there, allows for people to see things that are interesting and they get inspired and educated and empowered to make their own films.
What else you got? What else is coming to mind?
It's so hard. Okay, so I will be transparent. I'm one of the privileged few that has seen the majority of the films that we're showing this year. So I feel like I have really good insight, but also as a cinephile who watches, 200 plus movies a year, sometimes all of it merges into one. That being said, we have really good shorts programs, And I think everything will just kind of knock your socks off because it's just incredible filmmaking by these filmmakers. Every single one of our documentaries are really good. There's a great nature focus in films like Every Little Thing, which is about hummingbirds and taking care of hummingbirds. Then we also have a lot of features that touch into this idea of like community and connectiveness. So right off the top of my head, there are great Canadian films like Daughter of the Sun and Finality of Dusk, which are actually made here in
Manitoba.
Winnipeg, which is great.
And isn't it premiering at the festival?
So Finality of Dusk, I think, is premiering at the festival. I know that Daughter of the Sun, this is their Manitoba premiere.
Oh,
so
nice.
this is going to be their first like home premiere of their film, which is really great.
Awesome.
Trying to think of, I think one film that I'm really glad that we got was Handling the Undead, which is a Norwegian film.
Okay.
The name of the director has slipped my mind, but I'm pretty sure this is the Canadian premiere, which is very exciting. We also have really great Canadian films like With Love in Major Organ, Haley Rose. And then we also have really great documentary films like The Day Iceland Stood Still, which is about the women's strike that happened in Iceland. We also have a really great film in Limbo and Battle of Laikipia. Grand Finale, which is also the North American premiere, which is an Icelandic film that is really funny and was a box office hit over there and came out in January.
One of my questions in all of this, and it's really great that you are human. Is it the human interest piece? Is that a story? Is that a theme that you're going with a festival? Because I mean, every movie has a theme. Every television show has a theme. There's always these underlying, in the subplot, right, in the subtext, right, in the nitty gritty of it. Were you looking at planning around these ideas where you've got different documentaries about how humans are existing with the environment, humans are like was it around human interest pieces, or was that a happy accident? Maybe
it was a really happy accident. It came across organically throughout our program, within narrative features and docs and shorts, and we're kind of coining it as community / connectivity. Yeah. So how we interact, exactly what you said, with nature, how we interact with one another, how we interact with different cultures, all of this has appeared organically in our program, but also is really nice considering the fact that the past couple of years have been really about isolation and trauma and all that stuff. This is a little bit more of a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, I like that. And like, I mean, Ted Lasso taught all of us that you can make a show with conflict and still laugh and say fuck. Like you can,
Totally.
and that's more relatable than any, big tent major studio release, right? Like you can really get down that, even though it's Apple, but whatever, that's besides the fact. But I think that's what we're all craving, and maybe a little afraid to admit that we want connection again, but we were pushed so far away from each other that even in our storytelling, that it's kind of something that people are a little maybe adverse to at first. But I mean, over the last couple of years, with the way storytelling has kind of emerged, and we're now getting into more original pieces instead of, well, hopefully they're getting away from the franchises and the spectacles and the $300 million budgets. Because how many movies can you make with $300 million? How many independent short movies could you make with $300 fucking million? Anyways, so it's nice to see that's how you, as a community, as a group, you got together, a bunch of humans planning a festival, and look what happened. It's all about human interest pieces. So it's like the meta of that is really neat.
Yeah, it's Yeah, I'm really, really proud of the official selection this year. There really is something for everyone, uh, from quirky to funny to sad to, call to action. So I'm really proud of what we have, and there's again something for everyone.
So, with the size that you said, 15,000 people roll through. It's a 4-day festival, Thursday to Sunday. The entire town is a buzz. How did it start? Where did it start? Like, how do you go from how do we go backwards? How do we? Was it at the Gimli Theater? Was it 6 people talking about movies and they wanted to start a little festival? Like, is there an origin story maybe?
There is a little bit of an origin story. So our board chair is our founder, the Honorable Janice Johnson.
Yes.
And this was a birth from the Icelandic festival that happens here in Gimli. So yeah, which I can't pronounce. I don't want to butcher it. But exactly.
Teya, my wife, is from Arberg.
Okay.
I am a huge interlaker in my off spare time. I have been with her for close to 10 years. Still can't pronounce it. Don't feel bad.
Yeah, they sat me down my first day here and they tried to get me to know it. And
Nope.
No, but so it's birthed from that essentially.
Okay.
So we started showing Icelandic films on the beach, and then it kind of grew into something much bigger. People wanted to see those beach screenings, which are so iconic for our festival. And then we have expanded, and only in the past, I think, since 2020 or 2021, don't quote me.
Sure.
We changed from the Gimli Film Festival to the Gimli International Film Festival.
That
so
is
really
new. Yeah,
focusing on expanding our program.
And those beach screenings that you mentioned, we were invited by when Alan was running it. He invited us out to do a panel with Ice Vikings on the beach. Me and Jimmy came out, which was a lot of fun. But just sitting on that beach with a bunch of people, like I've watched movies on that beach for close to, I don't know, 10 years now. Like, what's on the beach this year? What can people expect?
Yeah, so I'll give you the full rundown. So Wednesday night, we're showing Barbie. Thursday night, we're showing Summer Rental. It's the 30th anniversary of John Candy's passing, so we thought that would be something great to honor him.
Smart.
Yeah, and then Friday, we're showing Thelma and Louise. I don't want to say that's my pick, but that was my pick. Saturday, we're showing Theater Camp, which is a film that came out last year, sort of coming of age. I really like that movie, so hopefully others do as well. And then Sunday night, we're ending strong with Paddington 2.
Yes, you are.
Paddington 2. You don't need to see the first Paddington to absolutely be blown away by the magic of cinema that is Paddington 2.
Okay, so there's so much to unpack in what you've just said. First of all, Barbie is like such a good time. Did you go pink to go to the theater? Were you one of the many like me?
I'd like to say no, but yes, I did.
Yeah.
Obviously, I did.
Did you do a double screening?
I didn't. I only saw Oppenheimer like during the cold winter here in Manitoba.
Okay. And I mean, that's the right time to watch that movie for sure.
Yeah.
We went 10 o'clock Barbie, 6 o'clock Oppenheimer, and then patioed and did whatever in between. Never have I ever been so happy and then so miserable in one 18-hour stretch. Barbie is a perfect, man. Did you enjoy it?
Pardon?
Did you enjoy Barbie?
Yes and no.
Okay.
For me, I did like it. I didn't think the writing was that strong.
Okay. Interesting take.
Yeah. Yes. I felt like the writing for me was not that strong. It was too in your face what it was. And I just didn't think it was that good. I think the acting was fine. The writing was questionable for me. And I will not elaborate.
No, that's,
I haven't seen it in a while.
That's fine. I've seen it once too. And I agree with you in that both of them embodied the characters and found themselves physically in those roles to perfection.
Yeah.
But some of the writing wasn't lazy. It was just flat. But if you're looking at it as a whole, I can agree with you on that. Like it's to blow your mind. It's to take you into a world. But while we're in that world, we'd like some interesting writing, please.
I agree. And I think it's a fun film.
Yeah.
Will I say it's the best film ever made? No. Would I say it's an important film? Maybe, yes.
Yeah.
But I think it was too yeah, you're right. You hit the nail on the head when you say that the writing was flat.
Okay, so then we got summer rental for honoring John Candy. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Why no Great Outdoors? What was the decision there?
Because we've already shown The Great Outdoors.
Okay, and it is the perfect cabin movie. So if you've already shown it the night, fair enough. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yes. Yeah.
That's like the one...
we just wanted to do something fun, and summer rental kind of fits into the theme of Gimli. So that's another great pick.
But I have to ask you, is anybody driving off of a cliff somewhere in Gimli by the end of the weekend? Are you planning to influence somebody that way? Like, how did Thelma and Louise all of a sudden come into this? Because it is a great Ridley Scott movie, for those who don't know.
Yeah. I mean, as we're coming to the end of the year, where another great Ridley Scott double feature event of the century might be happening.
Wicked-ator? What is it? How are they putting those two words together?
I think Wickinator was what it was.
Okay, not Glad-a-Wicked? Gladict? No, that doesn't work.
Either way, they've sold me. Either way, I'm there.
Let's go to Oz and let's go to Rome in the same day. Yeah, I'm there. I'm totally there.
Hell yeah.
Go on.
No, so we're not having a car leaving a cliff.
No montage.
Here in Gimli, unfortunately, we're in very flat lands. That's the only reason we're not doing it.
That was a pretty stupid thing to say now looking back on it.
But yeah, I think, well, our theme this year for our beach films is The Great Adventure.
Yeah, okay.
And that film just kind of speaks to me as a great adventure. And I was so glad that the rest of the committee that decides the films also agreed that would be a good pick. So throwback for people that love strong female friendship.
And Brad Pitt.
And Brad Pitt's
shirtless
debut.
Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
No, that's great. Those and that's when do those are when dusk, like when sun sets, basically they start.
Yeah, so we start them at 9:45 p.m.
Okay.
So yeah, right when dusk.
Perfect.
Is there. Hopefully the northern lights come out and it's a beautiful evening every night. You can
spend the whole day there on Saturday. You can peruse around town. There's things going on in town. There's different little events that are happening. Like this is the perfect, like, if you've never been and you want to experience something new, travel in Manitoba 1 hour outside of the city. Like there's no reason not to try this if you haven't tried it, listener. Who do we have for anybody speaking on panels? Any guest speakers this year? Anything focused around that?
Yeah, so we do host industry sessions every year. This year it's free to the public. The choice for that was just to make it barrier free so more emerging and established filmmakers could participate and not be hindered by the fees. So we have 8 going on this year. So we have Doc Manitoba is doing a talk with a director named Karsten Wall, who directed a really great short film called Modern Goose. So we're doing a masterclass for that. We're also doing a masterclass with Lisa Jackson, who is the director of a really great film called Wilfred Buck, which I also recommend everybody see as well. We have the National Film Board coming in to talk about how to pitch stories to them. And then they're actually having a mini pitch session that people can sign up on the On-Screen Manitoba website for.
Very cool.
And then we're doing a in conversation with a cinematographer and a director. The cinematographer's name slipped my mind, but Guy Madden is the director who's coming in. Guy Madden is a friend of the festival, and so I'm just thrilled to have him back to speak.
That's awesome.
We also, so that's just kind of a preview of what we have to offer. Film Training Manitoba also is coming in and leading a women in film trades session.
I saw that. Aaron's
then we're also doing RBC is talking about how to finance your films. So there's I'm not quoting all of them, but I think that there's also a lot of different sectors within the film industry that will be speaking, that people will get to learn more about what's happening.
So, like, when you mention all these films, what is there a primary focus every year on Manitoba talent at all? And if there is, how do you guys take care of that? Because there is a budgeting film industry behind just growing every year in this town, and I can't imagine that you have a short list to pick from.
Yeah, so we do prioritize Manitoba filmmakers. We're so lucky to have such a great industry here, just like you said. So Manitoba films are kind of the priority, as well as Canadian films, and then we branch out to international. I think it's really important for our industry here to show the Manitoba context, but also show how it relates to the rest of the film industry globally. So I think that's what our industry sessions are trying to do. And I think that's what our films are also trying to do. Just show how Manitoba is in like a ecosystem. I guess what I'm trying to say is in the past, our Manitoba shorts were their own individual section. And this year, I think it was really important for the organization and our programmers to say, listen, Manitoba can stand with the rest of the short films that are here. So we interwove them in the programs, which I think is really great because it shows that they're at that caliber and it's not just Manitoba on its own.
I'm always blown away by the short film industry here in the province, like going to the MIPS with ACTRA and just the people who send them to me on the show. I am so like, I don't know why it is the way it is, but the short films here are beautiful, interesting, comedic. Like they hit, and they're like, is there a reason for that? Having viewed so many of them, like, have you kind of figured out what the zhuzh is behind that? Because we can make features, but the short industry here is phenomenal.
I will echo you that and say it's some of the works are absolutely incredible. I think we just have a really interesting art scene here that really inspires people in a different way, that if you were in Vancouver or Toronto or Montreal, it's different. It's so uniquely our own. There are some great Manitoba shorts that are in our program. For example, like I talked about Modern Goose doing a masterclass.
Yeah.
Modern Goose was just so innovative and it was so innovative. It was just one of those films that you absolutely have to see. We had to include in our program. And then you also have really hard hitting emotional shorts like My Son Went Quiet.
With Ian Bawa.
Which it just amplifies the fact that Winnipeg and Manitoba in general, our film industry is here to play. Yeah. And we're here to stand and say, we could be the next epicenter of film.
Yeah, I know they say Vancouver's Little Hollywood of the North, but I have a tendency to disagree with that statement.
Yeah, I think, and I'm, like I mentioned earlier, as a Torontonian now coming here and experiencing it, and I think when I reflect on what's happening in the film industry in Toronto with hot docs issues, TIFF issues, I'm like, wow, we are so lucky to be here with a community that loves the arts, supporting the arts, and with talent that is so uniquely Manitoban. Like it's you're not going to get the same art anywhere else. This is like, I struggle to find the words because there's such immense, like, I'm just so happy to be here and to be a part of what I think is really special.
Yeah, it's like I was always worried about like how far I could go with interviewing people, and there's no shortage. Like there are so much, like it is anxiety writing when I'm sitting down. I'm like, okay, who can I talk to next? Oh my God, I want to talk to everybody, right? Like there's something always coming up, and just Ian features on the show, by the way. We love Ian Bawa. And I mean, Finding Diamonds was like, have you watched any of those episodes, or have you heard about them?
I have not, but I have a plan to do it. I was really struck by My Son Went Quiet, one of my favorite shorts from the program this year. And I think it just touched on grief in such a beautiful way. And I know Finding Diamonds does the same. So I was hoping for the film festival to die down and then be able to watch a little bit more of his work.
Diamond is the official mascot of the show. I've podcasted with her at my feet more times than I can count. When she comes over, I have less pillows than I began the day with. I love that fucking dog to death. And like just watching him with her and like hearing, like I had a feeling something was happening with CBC in that, because like he was kind of talking about doing ideas, and I was like, yes, go find support animals across the world with that animal. Go do your thing. And then on the flip side of that, make such beautiful art. Like I interviewed him for Strong Son. That's how we met. And then I was like, dude, you're such a cinephile. Like you need to come on the show. So like whenever he's not making beautiful shit, we're like, Ian, please come over and talk about all the beautiful shit that you make. And I have yet to see My Son Went Quiet, but I know I think he's getting a I don't know if I can say this, but I think that's a feature in the future for him. I think that got funded.
I hope so, because I think he did a really good job storytelling, and I loved the fact that it was a little bit supernaturally,
Yeah.
but it just, the way that grief manifests in that, it just was really touching. So if he is making it into a feature, I wish him the best, and I think he's got something really special there.
What are some, because you said art is so subjective, right? Like it is, some people don't like Starry Night by Monet. Some people do. There's nothing wrong with that. But how hard is it to sift through everybody's submission and not feel bad for it not making it? Like if someone laid bare to me all of the things that they put into a film that they've experienced, funny, sad, or indifferent, how do you walk away from that going, we're not going to put that in? We might do it next year, but how do you say no? How do you find that in you?
I think for context, it's really important to put context to the fact that we had over 1,400 submissions this year, which is also a very nutty amount. That's a lot of films to, meticulously go through. I think what really helps this process and makes it as fair as possible is that we have the programmers that go through it, but we also have 2 programming committees that join in the conversation and watch the films as well. And then we have discussions. So long lists are created by our programmers. We watch those long lists, and then we come together and we talk, and then we build it out from there. So I think it's hard, but it's also kind of beautiful to have opportunities to like push people's perspectives on certain things. So some people will really like a film, some people will really dislike it. And then it's nice to kind of see that war out a little bit and see like what the points are for liking it, what the points are for not liking it, and then see how people change their perspectives. Unfortunately, we can't show 1,400 films. But we try to make it as
no one's stopping
come to
you.
Gimli. It's a 3-month festival,
Yeah,
24 hours a day. No, it's
can I get a long-term Airbnb, please?
But I think that the process is fair, does it right. Like the filmmakers can sit well at night to know that their stuff is actually being seen and not just automatically crossed off as no for whatever reason.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it is you're submitting something. I mean, I know what it's like. We've submitted stuff. We've been ignored. We've been told yes. Like you are in a world where that is, it's a 50-50 shot is what I'm trying to get to. So they're aware of it. But at the same time, like I the reason I don't have kids is because they'd all be my favorite. They'd ruin me, right? Like I can't. They're all my movies are all my favorites, right? I always my top 10 is never the same 2 days.
My
in a row.
precious,
right? Exactly, right? Yes, like it's want to pet it and love it, and like I would suck. I would be like, no, we have to keep them all. We can't. So it impresses me whenever someone tells me that they're planning for a film festival or they're involved in a film festival, they're submitting to one, because I'm like, again, it's a big art gallery at the end of it.
Totally. And I think we work with our programs are so great that at the end of the day, I also understand my limitations. So I often I need to step back and let everybody kind of battle it out themselves, because at the end of the day, it's not just my decision, right? It's the decision of a large group and a committee and yeah. Well,
and then you can't have this beautiful theme of community and connection where you're like, it's my word, damn it.
Exactly. But it's interesting. This is the first time I've been through a programming process. And I was really excited to see it play out. And yeah, it was really exciting. And I'm really glad that I was able to see
hang on,
majority of the films.
Just pause for 1 sec. Hello?
Yeah.
I didn't know you were podcasting.
It's okay.
Okay, sorry.
No worries.
Okay, bye-bye.
That was Shauna. She's like, what are you doing? Do you ever get ones that
that aren't good?
Not good. That's not the word I'm looking at, because I just look at it as some are budgeted accordingly and some aren't, right? So you can only work with what you got. But do you just get some that you just don't understand? Is there, like, I'm thinking American Idol, but like the people who don't make it, like, are there film versions of the cuts from American Idol or America's Got Talent?
Yes. So I can share a story. So
Okay.
there was one film that um, I'll make it as ambiguous as possible. Some of our programmers really liked, and other people were absolutely aghast by it.
Okay.
And I could see both sides. And I think for me, it was sort of like, okay, well, I understand why this film should be in the festival. It's pretty experimental, but I also understand the other side that this might be too alienating because it's too experimental.
That's my question is, where does experimental and offense for art, where is that line?
Yeah, so it like then it kind of comes down to, okay, you have 50 other films that you've selected. Is this something that you are willing to fight essentially to have in your final 10, 20, whatever? And then, there are other films that are stronger that you kind of want more and kind of play with the theme you have in your head, I guess. Because we're not guided by the theme, right? That comes up organically once we kind of whittle things down. So yeah, that's the best example I can think of. I think then it becomes a conversation that we can have later about, that kind of film that is very experimental and totally has a place at a festival because it's been at other festivals and has won awards. What does that look like in the future? Is that something that we would add on? If yes, then how does our programming as a whole shift? So these are things that, you flesh out in strategic planning and stuff like that. And I hope that we can get to that stage that there is something really for everyone and shows how expansive cinema can be. Yeah.
And that, like, I mean, I've seen some things that have scarred me, and I mean, I get the message behind it, but I never want to see it again. And I always wonder, because a film festival is more, I mean, I don't want to say it's more slanted to the art side of cinema, right, and be all stuffy about it, but it is. Like, it's you're getting thrown so many different genres and so many different takes and so many different ideas about something that you eventually you find yourself seeing more. Like, I imagine you see a lot of weird stuff because it is a artistic expression, as opposed to this isn't the Marvel Film Festival, is my point.
Yeah. And I mean, that's a very fair point, and that's true. But I think you can have a really good experimental film that can go through the process and make it to the final selection. But we also have to keep in mind our audience here really likes to be challenged, but is it something that's going to be too challenging? If it is going to be too challenging, do we think about how, if we want to show that in the future, how we do it? Like, that has to be a process we need to think about and come up with like a proper strategy to make sure if it is, for example, violent or whatever, there's safety kind of around that for our viewership.
Totally. I've had people, we don't need to go down the list of movies that I've seen, but I've had people be like, come in and watch this. And I'm like, you're a fucking asshole. Like, there's a part of my brain that now is not rent free anymore.
I will say I had to watch for a podcast a couple weeks ago, Harmony Korrigan's Gummo. Oh, I don't know if you've seen that.
I've heard about it, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of cat killing and a lot of other things happening. And by the end of the evening, I was pretty upset. Yeah,
I can imagine. Yeah. What are some of the things that you're really looking forward to that you've had a chance to put together for this year's GIFF?
I think being able to, I'm just happy for myself moving here, jumping into it, and being able to execute the festival is a huge win for me personally. Very happy about that. I think I'm really excited about our program. I think the program we have really is for everyone. And I think having that plus the free industry sessions really is there to inspire emerging and established filmmakers, which is basically which is our mandate, right? So I'm really proud of the team that's come together and created something really beautiful. I know that's a very like cliche
No,
answer,
it's not. It's a
but
cliche
it's really
question.
true.
Like what are your challenges? It feels like I'm interviewing you, but I am always curious about like every endeavor because with the day job, I do get to be exposed to the hustle and the hurry up and wait and the intensity and the anxiety of making a film. So I'm always interested in like anything related to the world of cinema, be it pulling cord or, having one take to get a shot or what you had to say no to in a film festival. It's all interesting to me because we're cinephiles at heart, right? That's why we do.
Yeah.
That's why we talk.
Yeah, totally. And I think the one thing that has been challenging is how, because like you're saying, there's so many different elements that go into any part of the film industry. For film festivals and working with film industry or film organizations, it's really apparent that a lot of organizations are at their capacity. So scheduling and stuff like that can be really hard because they only have so many people that work at the organization. And I think it's really cementing further for me how important arts advocacy is and how important it is to support the arts so that films can be made and festivals can happen. And we have capacity to do that.
Yeah, like you're running on shoestring and
Yeah.
you need 60 when you've only got 30 people to do it. Like, I could. And I mean, because it is such a huge gap between the festival scene and then the rest of the big industry, right? Like the festival scene is where you can get exposed to stuff, where you can learn stuff. All of my experiences with the artistic side of cinema have always been at a festival. Always. Like I'm the guy who, like, I will watch anything. I will mostly watch shit that I love from the 90s over and over again because it cures my anxiety, right? I love good background noise. I love Thelma and Louise on, like, Thelma, get your butt back here right now. That in the background makes me feel better about life. It's a blessing that I've had film festival exposure because without it, I would never look for the one copy DVD at Blockbuster back in the day. I would have never done that as a child. But as a person now, I'm like, oh, I don't know about this. Oh, it's not even on IMDb. Yeah, sign me up. It's like when you go to someone else's country and you want to experience their culture. You don't go where all the other people who look like you are. You go to where they eat. You go to where they experience their lives. You go to where they celebrate their culture. So it's made me a better watcher. It's made me a better cinephile, if that's something that one can aspire to. But without the film festival aspect, you don't get exposure. And some of these directors, I tell you, you give them $50 million and they'll give you exactly what you want.
Yeah, and I think we're saying what you're saying about Blockbuster and finding that one DVD that's there. Yeah, we don't have that, like Gen Z doesn't have that experience anymore.
No.
I remember going to like a specialty video store and like sifting through the Criterion collection and finding things. And my mom was a big cinephile and rented everything under the sun. So my sister and I watched R-rated European movies when we were like 3, right? But yeah, I think partnerships, like this year we partnered with Letterboxd.
Nice.
So hopefully that'll also open up. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. I love that app. I fucking swear by that app with everything I do now.
Me too. And I feel like that's also important because it'll open up people to other cinema possibilities, right? Recommendations, what other people are watching. So I'm really hoping, I guess what I'm trying to say is that having the festival in Gimli and having it accessible for everyone with the materials and the programming, like people will be inspired and want to come out for years to come and make it like an annual tradition.
Well, and now you can start building your like with Letterboxd. I mean, you can make the Gimli Film Fest page that's going to be ever evolving, right? And and it's so good. That app is so good. I never thought I'd praise an app as much as I praise this one. I thought Tinder was the one I'd praise the most, but then I met Shauna, so I didn't, whatever. But like, you can still swipe right on Letterboxd. Point is they prioritize the social experience of talking about movies over the news and entertainment side of it. And
Yeah.
that's what's so good about it. IMDb doesn't do that. Movie Database doesn't do that. You go on, you first see who else is watching, what they're watching, and their reviews. And that's exactly what we all want to know.
You know what's actually the most important part of a social network like Letterboxd? I feel like it also, once we got our partnership and we have a headquarters and within the program, for me, I felt like when I was telling people, "Oh yeah, we partner with Letterboxd," that was reaffirming our program more than 15,000 people coming out was.
Yeah.
People were losing their mind. Oh my God, Letterboxd, that's so cool. So there's power in that and how we reach different audiences, but there's also amplifies the fact that yes, we are a film festival that happens here that is at par with any other film festival happening in the nation or in the world.
That's so cool. That is so cool. What's the hardest part about planning a festival outside of picking? Like, you come from event backgrounds. I imagine, are you ever concerned? Do you ever feel you've made a bad choice? Are you up late at night being like, oh God, this is the worst program? Do you second guess yourself? Like, what are some of the anxieties that you go through to get to the end when you've got a completed list and a ready festival?
I never doubt our program, if I'm going to be honest. Some nights I don't sleep because I think about every little thing that needs to be done. And, you know, like many nonprofits, we run on our we run our staff through grants. So we have a lot of students to come through. So it's a lot of coaching and empowerment. So sometimes it's also double checking to make sure everything's okay. But the thing that gives me the most anxiety, and it's a really weird one and has been now affecting me, I think, for the past couple of weeks, is the fear that nobody's going to show up.
Oh, that's impossible.
Which is impossible, but for like big events that I've done, I'm always scared nobody's going to show up and it'll be like an empty cinema. And I mean, I look at our numbers are doing well, and I think we're reaching a great audience, but I have a fear that nobody will show up, and that's what keeps me up at night.
Teya, I can promise you're gonna, yeah.
You know, when you have a big network of friends and family back home or acquaintances, they will show up and support you.
Yeah.
Here, I do have family coming, but I also feel like I don't have, and I have friends that I've made that will come up as well, but I just feel like, oh man, my typical, 100, 150 people are not going to be here to do it. So hopefully our marketing is okay that people will show up. But I know it's an unfounded fear, but it's
still real.
Still real.
Yeah. No, I get it too. Most of the shit that I come up with has no bearing in the sense of reality whatsoever, but it's real in my mind, so thus it must be real. I get that. Is there one thing that you should tell listener that they should check out of everything? Is there do you have like one little personal preference that you're like, you must see this? Like what's your must see or must do?
Okay. It's really hard to narrow it down, but I have a question for the listenership.
Sure.
There is a film in our program called My Wonderful Stranger.
Okay.
That is a Swedish film or Norwegian film.
Okay.
Can't remember off the top of my head.
They're all the same.
I will tell you that it is showing, because I have the thing in front of me. It is showing Thursday at 6 p.m. At Lutheran Church.
Okay.
I watched that film. It was quirky and I kind of really dug it. And I'm really curious if other people will dig it as much as I did. I don't know why. The premise was interesting.
What's the bit?
I guess that's my plug. I really like that film, and I'm really curious if other people will like it as much as me.
All right, there you go. So anybody that listens or went, hit us up in our Instagram or our Facebook or whatever social media you want, because it's all in the show notes. And we'll leave a question for what did you think of, what's the name of the film again?
My Wonderful Stranger.
What did you think of My Wonderful Stranger? And we'll poll whoever it is, and then I'll send you everything, and then you can have a letterbox about it.
Thank you. I just think that the lead actress was really good in that. And the storyline was really quirky. Essentially, it's about this young woman who finds this guy on the street that has amnesia and convinces him that they were in a relationship, but they're both terrible. They're both terrible
it's
people.
Like
it's
Overboard.
Not a comedy at all. Yeah.
It's exactly like him.
but not funny.
But not funny.
Not funny. But they're just terrible people. And for some reason, it just was a sleeper hit. I think that's a sleeper hit.
Okay. Is there anything else that listener should know, that the festival goers should know that we haven't brought up, or that you want to make sure that it gets out there before I let you go?
Yeah, that there's, again, I keep reiterating this, there's something for everyone. Our industry sessions are free this year. There is a shuttle service that's free for pass holders, $20 if you just have a ticket, and it's a round trip. There's 2 locations for pickup and drop off. And I also will mention that we do have, competitions that happen, like the RBC Emerging Filmmakers Pitch and the 48-Hour Fest, which are really fun to watch. So I would suggest those as well.
I know what a 48 hours. That's Ben Williams, right?
Williams.
Yeah. Solid dude. He's done the show. But for listener, it's been a while since they probably listened to that or don't know at all. What is a 48-hour film fest?
So Ben, who you were mentioning, runs it, and essentially a few weeks ago, filmmakers come in, they find out a special phrase for creating a film within 48 hours, so they can't pre-plan. They have 48 hours to write, film, and do post-production. They submit it, and then it gets whittled down to I think we have 20 films this year that are showing. So they're short, they're under 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And the winners of that competition actually go to show their films at the Toronto International Film Festival.
Yeah, doesn't that go
So
up
it
to
is a competition, and they're all emerging. So it's pretty rad to see.
And they get TIFF Lightbox, right? Is that where it gets played?
It's exciting. And same with like the RBC $10,000 emerging pitch competition. Both those events are free, and they just do a really good job at showing you what emerging filmmakers are thinking about and what they're doing to kind of get their foot through the door. So it's great to cheer them on.
Well, and it also shows the business aspect of film too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the ugly side of cinema. And it gives you an idea of a filmmaker also has to be a hustler, also has to know how to sell their product, also has to know how to present it, right? Like you need a deck. You need to actually be able to explain your vision instead of just being like, it's like Top Gun, but with gummy bears or some dumb shit, right? Like, you really need to, and those pitch environments are a really good place to like learn from the ground up. So that's really cool that that's going to be exposed to the public this year.
Yeah. And then, I mean, we also have, I'm going on and on. There's just so many things for everybody. And I just feel like if you are interested, just go to our website, gimlifilm.com, look at our schedule, and you'll just be kind of shocked at everything that we have to offer.
To make it easy, listener, just go to the show notes. In the show notes, in this episode that you're listening to right now, we'll have all the information that you need, all the things that she's mentioned that we've talked about. You're like, how do I find out about all that? It'll be in the one link. You just go, peruse around, get your pass, hop on the shuttle, spend the day at the Gimli International Film Festival, watch a bunch of new stuff that you've never been exposed to, learn about cinema, watch some weird stuff, watch some quirky stuff, pull the movie again, which I've completely forgotten the name of.
My Wonderful Stranger.
My Wonderful
I keep
Stranger.
thinking about it. I don't know why I liked it so much. I don't know. It was just like, I think it's a sleeper hit, and I keep telling people, they bring it up, and I'm like, sleeper hit. Like it's gonna be. Okay, I'm hoping. I'm rooting.
We'll talk after if you can somehow give me access, and then I'll give you my 2 cents on it if I can't get out there to see it. And besides that, you should buy tickets for our trivia night coming up, listener, July 26th at Little Brown Jug. We're right in the middle of Fringe, so in between plays, if you're not busy, come out and do like 2 hours of trivia with us, and then go back to another play at the end of the night. It's $5. It's Simpsons-themed trivia, Teya.
Ooh.
It's 4 rounds of Simpsons-themed trivia brought to you by Jimmy Skinner, one of the guys on the show. You know him, listener. And the kicker is, Teya, this is what's funny about it. I was denied The Simpsons as a child, so I don't know much about it. I can't.
So was I.
Okay, fuck. There's another. I thought there could only be one. That's some Highlander shit for me, but this is real now. So I was denied it. My mom thought it would ruin me. It would make me a disrespectful child. I was anyway. So I will be competing against the audience at this trivia night, while the audience competes against me, and then all my friends will make fun of me at the same time. So I don't know jack shit.
Brutal.
Yeah.
That's like any trivia that you go to that's for a different television show, oh, they are so hard.
They are, and I've learned that getting into the trivia world, trivia teams, they will fucking debate you. You do not call yourself the real debaters if you're not willing to argue people at movie trivia. That is what I've learned. Anyways, that link's also in the show notes. Buy your tickets, $5. Eventbrite. It's going to be a good time. We're going to give you a $25 gift certificate to Landmark Theaters, because when we send people to the movies, we let you recline, not like that other movie theater I won't name because I don't want to get sued. And LBJ will also be supplying some prizes, I believe, as well, too. So, Teya, thank you so much for.
Thank you.
This was a blast. Thank you for pulling the curtain behind the film festival for me and letting everybody know what they can expect. If we should talk about you kind of coming back and maybe just hanging out with us one time.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'd love that. Thank you for having me. And yeah, wish I could come to trivia and support you by having no points. So
You can sit down with me and then we'll be on the same team. That's what should happen. Yeah. That'd be perfect. Thanks for listening, listener. Watch all the movies. Go to the Gimli Film Festival and say bye now. Bye, Teya.
Bye.
Oh, if you have any problems, dial information. Thank you for calling.